everybody, welcome back to another book talk video. I hope you're keeping cool wherever you are because I'm definitely warm. So I'm going to do the last two book reviews for my previous library haul, from my previous library haul, before I go on to the next two books that I have, which I will do separate videos on. These are, well, one is a witchy book, the other is a Krystle book. I wanted to do a review on a Krystle book because I haven't done that yet. This particular volume is one that I read early on. It's one of Cassandra Eason's books, Healing Crystals, an illustrated guide to 150 crystals and gemstones. And there's the cover. This is a relatively good-sized book. It's thin, but it does have photographs inside it. The light's not too good today. Sorry about that. Now, I will say I do like quite a few of Cassandra Eason's books. I think she was one of the very first metaphysical authors, New Age authors, who I read who was not strictly within the realm of Wicca and, quote, paganism, unquote. Also, the table of contents is divided up according to color, so that might help with identifying some of the stones if you're not all that familiar with crystal names. It can sometimes help to go according to color instead of the different properties of stone, the different visual properties of stone, I should say. And she has the introduction talking about crystal pendulums, some of the chakras, crystal colors, the aura, standard basic information that you get in a lot of New Age books. But this is one of the very early ones that I read. Now, I will say that I do have a crystal collection, and I've, I guess you could say, worked with crystals for a number of years now, going back before the hype of 2012. One of the things about her book that I don't particularly care for, I will show you these pictures of clear quartz. One of the things that I don't particularly care for is that she doesn't tell you about water solubility or the ways that different crystals react with things such as oils, even body oil, sweat, things like that. Because as someone who has worked with stones that you don't really want to put in water, but some people do regularly put them in water, I have to say that is, in my own opinion, standard information that should be included in all books on rocks and minerals, regardless of whether they are New Age or not. If you want to get information about that, because one of the things that they don't really tell you is that if you end up starting to collect crystals, you need to make sure that you know how to treat them. You need to make sure that you know how to care for them. Some are safe, quote, safe, unquote, to come into contact with water, meaning that they won't dissolve. That's really all that means. They won't dissolve and they won't turn into something toxic, like angelite. One of my favorite crystals to work with is angelite. And angelite is mentioned in this book. It will probably be under blue. I'm not really going to look for it. I'm probably not going to be able to find it quickly. But one of the things that you are not going to know about angelite unless you go to either a book on rocks and minerals or you look up specific information online, assuming that is going to be correct, is that you never, ever, ever, ever get angelite wet. Never let it come into contact with moisture because it is toxic. It will turn the water extremely toxic to the point that you won't even be able to touch the water. Not just the crystal, but the water that the crystal is in. You can't touch it. So that, yes, it is the stone angelite. You can see here, I think. And it continues on this page. So this is actually a picture of tumbled angelite. I have, the only angelite that I have right now is in the form of mallet beads, but I make sure that that's a particular set that I never take outside of the house. Every now and then I will wear a couple of the others. I'm actually wearing my black lava stone beads in one of my previous videos, the outtakes from my writing blog, from the first writing blog. You see black beads around my neck. Those are black lava stone. Those are sort of like one of my all-purpose beads. I don't mind wearing those every now and then. I don't typically wear my mallet beads, but every now and then I do. And I also have another set that I'm okay with wearing, but I never wear the angelite, or if I do, it's only for a few minutes and then I take it off, because I don't want it to come into contact with moisture, even my own body oils, because I'm very conscious of the fact that it's not really all that friendly with anything that's wet or damp. So if you want to get, I hate to say practical information, but if you want practical information, for lack of a better way of putting it, on what stones should come into contact with and what they shouldn't, you're going to have to get a secondary source, a secondary information source, because this particular book does not have it. This particular volume of hers, because she's done, I think she's done a couple of books on crystals. It's been a long time since I read any of them. But this particular one does not have that information in it. That's my only real complaint about this book. Everything else, I think, is okay. She does show some of the stones raw. She shows some of them tumbled, like with this picture of aquamarine. You see both raw and tumbled aquamarine, because stones will look different depending on whether they are raw, meaning straight out of the ground, obviously, or tumbled, meaning smooth. So I do like that, but I personally don't use much of the standard information in books like this. For instance, she talks about symbolic associations, supposedly the angels who work with them. I don't necessarily consider that information to be accurate. I think some of it is, but I think a lot of it's not. That's just my own personal opinion. So that is Cassandra Eason's Healing Crystals, an illustrated guide to 150 crystals and gemstones. The pictures are really good, like I say, and a lot of the information is interesting. She gives a little bit of the history and mythology of some of the different stones. But for someone who's also very practical like me, I would appreciate knowing whether or not a stone is safe for me to wear out in the elements, particularly if I'm caught in the rain and it might get wet. So that's something to be to consider. Also, just even something that's not strictly speaking toxic, like rose quartz or amethyst. You want to be careful with how much you expose those stones to the sun, because they will fade, and when they fade, it's believed that the energy changes because now the color has changed. So the second book that I got, this is one that I've never read before, and it's a pretty new book. The Witch's Guide to Wellness, Natural Magical Ways to Treat, Heal, and Honor Your Body, Mind, and Spirit by Krystle L. Jordan. Krystle is spelled with a K. And this is a hardcover book, as you can see. The other one was paperback. This is more like a beginner book. It's more of a, how should I put it? I'll give you a look at the table of contents. I do like the feel of the pages. It has kind of that parchment or linen feel. The font is in purple and green. It alternates between purple and green. The headings are in green, and the body of the text is in purple. This book has primarily a lot of different inspirational tips and ideas for things such as fostering a more relaxed environment or creating a more relaxed environment, magical detox rituals, a gratitude ritual to the earth, plant blessing ritual, decluttering to ignite the magical flow, a ritual up for letting go of material possessions. So things that you could do, really simple little rituals, simple little things you could do in daily life, in between daily activities or in tandem with daily activities like cleaning the house, that could boost your morale, make you feel more, I guess you could say magical or spiritual, but it sounds almost like a stereotype when I say it. I don't know. Bathroom cleanser for clarity. So she does have recipes for things that you can make. All-purpose cleanser for purifying your space. I did not try any of these recipes because I wasn't really all that interested in them. I do make some of my own stuff, but I just wasn't in the mood, and that's fine. You don't have to be in the mood all the time. It's not like we're doing rituals, casting spells, and all that stuff on a daily basis. I don't think anybody really does that. Banishing floor wash, cinnamon broom cleansing ritual. That can be nice because we're coming up on fall. At least that's what the calendar says. The weather outside is protesting and wanting to stay in summer for as long as possible. But since we're coming up to fall, they're going to start selling the cinnamon brooms soon. So cinnamon is, among other things, believed to be protective, and the besom or the broom is also said to be a protective symbol. A lot of people like to think of it as a protective symbol. Also a recipe for a simmer pot, if you've ever done that. Home blessing. So of course, these are, I personally think that this is a nice little book for somebody who is just wanting to, sorry for the noise outside. I'm hoping the mic will filter that out. I think this is a nice little book for someone who is still kind of a beginner. Or maybe somebody who's just looking for something to do that makes you feel a bit more connected or less disconnected from your own spirituality as you're figuring it out. Because the things that she talks about in here are not, strictly speaking, specific to any particular tradition, such as Wicca or Asatru or any of the others. They're just really simple, nature-based, plant-based things that you can do. And like you have a spell jar for happiness, enchanting a pendant for joy and luck, different things that you can try, a recipe for a smoothie. So I personally, would I recommend it? For some people, yes. I'm not really all that into these particular types of books, but I do think that it could be enjoyable for people who are just starting out and maybe they lean more towards or are more interested in trying to create a nicer environment at home, getting into the habit of doing things like smudging, trying to clean your energy, keep it clean on a day-to-day basis, making your home a little brighter. So I do think that some of the things in here are okay. I personally don't agree with all of them. I don't agree with all of anything that's in any of the books that I've mentioned on the channel, which is fine. I'm not really doing this for me. I'm doing this for all of you, for the other readers. So that was The Witch's Guide to Wellness by Krystle, with a K, Krystlel Jordan. And I know that this, I can't remember if this came out this year or last year. It's a pretty recent book. And then Cassandra Eason's Healing Crystals, an illustrated guide to 150 crystals and gemstones. So that is it for now. I'm preparing the next book talk video on a completely different topic. And I will see you in the next video. So keep cool. Bye.